And joining me on the set is Douglas Yates. He's a director of Anglo-American law at Cergy-Paris University and a West African politics expert. Hello to you, Douglas. G20 formed in 1999. This is the first one being held on the African continent. Are you surprised it took this long?
No, I'm not. Africa's never been a priority in the international system. But what a change 20 years makes. Now we have South Africa, Brazil, India, the global south, who are fighting against climate change, who are symbols of democracy, and who are fighting for solidarity in international multilateral forums. What a change 20-year makes.
Yeah, and some of those countries you mentioned, they're also members of BRICS, and this is seen as a sort of a counterweight to U.S. international influence. Has the U.S. lost some of its prestige or influence on the international stage?
Well, I would say the Trump administration has placed the U.S. in a terrible position. And what I'm seeing is that leaders are biting their tongues because they know that once Trump is gone, the United States is a great international partner. But so long as the Trump administration's there, so long as Vladimir Putin is in charge of Russia, so long as Xi Jinping is the emperor of China, as long as we have these three emperors, the agenda against climate change, the agenda for more equality, for debt relief, the agenda for democratization is on hold.
Yeah, but with so much of that put on hold, it feels like it also adds to the importance of the Trump administration. We saw him not attend the COP summit in Brazil. He's not attending this summit either. And because of that, it feels like each one of these international summits has less importance.
Well, yeah, it does give that optics, but I have a long-term view of this. Trump's positions seem crazy. His views on windmills and his claim that South Africa is committing a genocide are truly counterfactual. But they're logical, they're rational if you consider who supports him. Mm-hmm. The oil industry, he just made the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia all but an honorary citizen of the United States. He gets his money personally from the oil industry. And of course, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, whose Starlink was refused by South Africa, was the beginning of all these shenanigans of Afrikaner preference by Donald Trump. So he's serving his side of the equation. But on the other side, waiting in the wings are the Democrats. And when they return to power, and they will return to power, this nightmare will be over. And at that point, the G20 can continue.
Well, let's look at what's happening this weekend in South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa laying out the priorities of the event. Do you think anything consequential will come out of it?
Well, these forums like the G20, they don't have the power to make binding resolutions. They're supposed to be forums. Originally, the G7 was a forum for heads of state to meet, to speak informally without all of the vetoes of the P5 or the constraints of formal multilateralism. So yeah, conversations are going on, and particularly among Europe, Africa, and the global south. So Europe is having a very nice moment here. In the absence of the three emperors, Macron looks like the last adult standing in the room, the last multilateralist, the last one who's at least talking the talk of cooperation. So it's a good moment for the European Union in the north.
So what do they have to do to to sort of seize that opportunity?
Well, I think right now everyone is trying to do triage because the Trump administration is literally pursuing policies that are contrary to the policies of the United States since the end of the Cold War. So everyone else is ironically on the agenda that the U.S. sent at the end of the Cold War. And I think they're trying to do a holding operation.
Can you give a specific example for that?
Well, I mean, the climate change. Right. I mean, it was originally the scientists who proposed that we needed to get on a low-carbon diet. And even large oil companies started to convert into energy companies. And since the Trump administration's come in now twice into power, he sent clear messages that it's drill, baby, drill, and the U.S. isn't even attending the climate change conference. Another really good example, which it has been the war in Ukraine.
You're right. Talk's going to be on the sidelines of this G20.
Strategically, the United States was strong-arming Africa to take a side against Russia. And this had actually caused South Africa to say, look, during the Cold War, Russia was our ally. And now, ironically, the United States is strong-arming Ukraine to cede its territory. And the countries around the world are confused. Is this Trump or is it the United States? I claim it's Trump.
And if it is Trump, I mean, that still does a blow to the established world order, even if his term is going to end at a certain defined date, we presume. So between now and then, how does the international community react? I mean, if he forces Ukraine to accept peace through coercion, is it peace?
No, it's not peace. And in fact, every deal he claims is a peace deal lacks one or both of the parties of the conflict. These are photo opportunities. These are a person with a narcissistic personality disorder seeking acclamation. Real peace is a long-term process. And it's not peace, obviously, if Ukraine is being forced by one of its major allies into a deal where it secedes its terrain. I believe Zelensky is going to play the diplomatic game, but I don't ever believe that he's going to sign away the territory of Ukraine. Ukraine's proven its determination.
Donald Trump campaigning for the Nobel Peace Prize this year, saying he had ended a number of wars, some of those conflicts on the African continent. What is the most pressing need that the G20, Ramaphosa's G20 would like to address on the continent?
Well, I think as a South African who was raised in the era of apartheid and who has been a key member of the ANC since the transition to one man, one vote, the equality issue remains personally vital to him. And South Africa is a great country. South Africa under the ANC is a great country to sell that message because it had a peaceful transition. In a way, if the world could have the kind of transition that South Africa enjoyed, we wouldn't have a perfect world, but we'd have a better world.
Oh, you had plenty of scandals in the ANC as well, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've been in power too long, and we're waiting for an alternance of power. But Nelson Mandela left behind a great gift, which continues to be respected. For example, South Africa knew Jacob Zuma. That was their Donald Trump. But they have a turnover of the leadership in the ANC. And Ramaphosa is not a new face in that club. He was there at the transition. So if anything, the ANC has proven that it is willing to respect the fundamental rules of the game. And we're all waiting for the Democratic Party of South Africa as kind of the leading opposition to eventually conduct a peaceful transfer of power through elections. Until that happens, corruption is a danger. But South Africa leads the way in the region.
Professor, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure. Douglas Yates.
Thank you, Will.